All right, all right. All right. I appreciate you guys joining Coach Smith 27 live on Instagram. I'm also on Zoom with this fella, good friend, former teammate, Liquid Hollywood High star, football and baseball star, Notre Dame, NFL. Um, this guy is very busy, so I really appreciate him taking the time out to just to be a part of this podcast with me. This is a guy that I give a lot of credit to, helping me be where I was able to get to in college football and in the NFL and all that great stuff. But I have with me today, I'm your host, Coach Smith. Would love the game 24/7. I have a great friend of mine. We don't always talk, but we always seem, at some point in time, we always get together and hook up and talk and have a good time, just reliving some things and talk about what's going on with us with family and kids and all that great stuff and business. But I have with me today Pat Terrell, who's a graduate of Lakewood High School in '86, earned a scholarship to Notre Dame. As a junior in high school, he was a second team All State, first team All Pinellas County. As a senior in high school, first team All State, first team All Pinellas, team captain. Played both ways, free safety and wide receiver. Highly recruited, great student in the classroom, great person on and off the field, where you hear me talk about that a lot, about your character, integrity, and work ethic, which Pat had. He received an invite to the Florida Georgia All-Star All-Star game, the North-South All-Star game, where he was the MVP in the North-South All-Star game. He played, like I said, he played baseball in high school, following in the footsteps of his older brother, Grady Terrell, who was a great football player and baseball player at Lakewood, Hollywood High. And Pat went on to start Notre Dame football with the likes of Tim Brown, Jerome Bettis, Todd Light. I mean, they just had a great some athletes on that team that he went to Notre Dame. He was a AP second team, UPI second team, a USA Today first team as a senior, co-team MVP as a senior. He helped to beat my Miami Hurricanes, my favorite team. Kind of broke my heart. Beat my Miami Hurricanes, but they went on in 1988 to be undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, 12-0, won the national championship, and that was '88. Notre Dame won the national championship. Pat had the opportunity to play in the Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl. He was invited to play in 3 college all-star games, the Hula Bowl, East-West Shrine, and the North-South Bowl. And like I said, national champion in 1988. Pat was a second-round draft pick in 1990 to the LA Rams, the 49th overall pick. And Pat is one of several Lakewood High School stars that went on to star in the NFL. And I'm glad to say I have my friend, glad to call this, not just a friend, brother, really. And Pat, so I know there's a lot more I can say, but I just want to make sure I give you some of your flowers. But there's a whole heck of a lot more I can say about you for sure. But definitely, man, I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate you with your busy schedule with family and business and all those things that you have going on. I know are very important and crucial things that you have to do. And I appreciate you just taking some time, man, to be with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7, man, on Instagram and on Zoom with me right now. And just sharing and talking about recruiting, because that's what it's all about, because of our own personal experiences. And so I just wanted to be sure I tried to introduce you and give you a proper introduction, man. So anything you want to, I know I may have missed some things. I may not have everything right, but
yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Hey, first and foremost, you never have to apologize or think you're interrupting me, because you're my boy. Now, I will tell you it's going to be hard for me to call you coach, because you're Jeff to me, but I'm going to call you coach for the sake of the great things that you've been doing to help kids. Jeff, one of the things that I know we have so much in common, and I will say this also, I've never even looked at you as like a friend. I mean, our families have always been closer. You're my cousin, you're my brother, man. And another thing we have so much in common is, we have two older brothers that were basically doing what you're doing to athletes and students right now.
Yeah.
And our brothers, Todd Smith, your brother, Grady, my big brother, those guys were the true epitome of being an older brother,
right?
By going through the ropes first and making sure that they turn around and tell us where the minefield is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what you're doing right now, and I really commend you, Jeffrey, because a lot of people talk a lot of stuff. A lot of people think they have advice.
Yeah.
The advice that you give on being a solid Christian husband, father is fantastic. And the proof is in the pudding. I am so proud of your son that you've done, because these days these kids are hard-headed and they don't want to listen to pops. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to give you all the credit, Jeff, because your wife, his mama did a whole lot.
Oh, absolutely.
But it takes a team. It takes a village. You've got a wonderful son that's in the NFL. You've had a taste of the professional ranks. Your brothers had a taste of it. And so we all know, and me as being a former player, I just have the utmost respect, because it's not all just about your God-given ability.
Right.
It's about sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's about listening to the old school, the old heads.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I just love to see what you do on your podcast and on your station, on spitting this knowledge that's so valuable to not only the kids, but to the parents too, because the parents play such a huge role in all of this. Absolutely. But Jeffrey, I tell you what, I think every time we get together, we barely get any words out because we just laugh about these old school stories, man. We got to start getting some new ones, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I just want to, I appreciate it, Pat, man, everything, man. I appreciate the words, man, the kind words, but definitely, bro, like you said, it always felt like family with you, it didn't feel like, we were just friends, man. So, but like I said, I owe a lot to you. A lot of what I'm doing is because like you said, our brothers had that path for us and told us, because like I said, man, I'm also doing this too to help coaches do better, because we had, like I said, if you're not in it for the kids to really help kids, if you're in it for a power thing and all that stuff, you need to find another profession. But if you're in it to really help kids grow and help them fulfill their dream of going off to college, because in a lot of ways, man, some of us wouldn't have been able to make college if we didn't have sports,
Absolutely. And Jeff, I tell you what, we both believe in the same thing, man. To much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
So these coaches do have a not only a tough job, but even more important, they have a tremendous responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, to take young men, young women at a crucial moment in their life to, how much have we learned from the game of football? You learn how to be a teammate. You learn how to commit. You learn how to, the team is bigger than you.
Yes,
and
sir.
then you learn how, respect is earned, and not only on the football field, but off the football field. So that's such a crucial time, and I really give a lot of props to coaches, and we had some tremendous assistant coaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I still remember Coach Drayton.
Right.
And then Coach Smith,
Joe.
He played such a huge role in me personally, because, obviously Joe Smith was a quarterback in Lakewood way before us. I think even before Todd, and he was a great quarterback. And I remember I was playing quarterback until Superman got to school.
Yeah.
which is Snaggy, right? Who helped us all, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, and I think for the receivers and stuff like yourself, I know you played all over offense, receiver, running back, everything else.
Yeah.
I think everybody was happy to see Smacky get there, because when PT was playing quarterback, I was running our rock.
Oh, exactly. We were like, man, Pat he just taking the sweep by himself all the time, man. We gotta get somebody else.
I was open. I said, yeah, but they were man to man. I had to get it.
Pat said, no, I'm running for my life.
Yeah. So I was bringing up Coach Smith because he was he was a police officer, with the St. Pete Police Department, and he came and wanted to give back to us kids as much as he possibly could.
Yeah.
And the influence that he had on me personally was tremendous. And so it's a big responsibility. And I think you said it, it's not just all about the kids, the parents, about the coaches too,
Yeah.
because that responsibility you have can affect generations.
Right. Right. And like you said, you Coach Drayton, the late Coach Drayton, man, there's a lot of guys that are refereeing and doing different things that got into
Coach
that.
Ninus, come on.
Who was it?
Coach Ninus.
Yeah, Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't
definitely.
call. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
when Niners took over as head coach, a lot of things, started really progressing with kids from Lakewood really going to playing where they should have been playing college ball, and like I said, man, I wanted to make sure my kids had the opportunity that when they played sports, that you enjoyed coming back thanking that head coach. We didn't have that blessing to be able to do that. We had, like I said, we had Drayton, we had Coach Kravitz. Remember Rick Kravitz?
Oh, yes.
Kravitz went on to go to FAMU after he left us, and then I think NC State, Youngstown State, but then he also with Coach Levitt, who recruited Todd and I at Morningside.
That's right.
D2 football. Coach Levitt started the USF program with Coach Kravitz. Him and Levitt played together, and Coach Davis, Duke, played. They all played together.
Who was my defensive back coach? The mean pit bull.
Oh yeah. I know. It'll come to me, but yeah, he was a good coach. He was.
Before the end of our conversation, we got to get his name because I got to give him a shout out because he made us all hard.
He did. Tough. Yeah. No.
But Jeff, I tell you what. Also, it's we were talking earlier too. You and I, Lakewood has a historical presence in the state of Florida, in the country.
In the country.
And what the thing we were talking about, Jeff, that really made me think real hard on it was, I mean, you've been all over the country, right? And I'm in Chicago area now, and people are like, hey, where'd you go to high school? Oh, I'm from Florida. We're proud to be from the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So we from Florida. Where? St. Pete onto Lakewood. Oh, Lakewood.
Mm.
Man, that's a machine down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that you and I were talking about is for the players. I'm talking to old school. You, me, Grady, Todd, Smith, Chris Blackwell.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise.
Nope.
That we have so many guys playing Division I college football, that we have so many football players playing at the next level, starters all over the NFL. And Jeff, we were talking, I mean, are you surprised?
No, man. No. I mean, I tell, like you said, I tell people Pinellas County, specifically St. Pete. I mean, Pinellas County.
I said specifically Lakewood.
Lakewood. No, I was going to get to that. Yeah, specific. More when we narrow it down, most of that talent that has come to whether they made the NFL or not, you can look on a lot of major college football teams, and there is somebody from either Lakewood High School or St. Petersburg or Pinellas County in that order. Lakewood, St. Pete, and then Pinellas County. That's pretty much how it goes. And we just had a kid from St. Pete get drafted, but his roots, a lot of the roots go back to Lakewood Junior Spartans or St. Pete Green Devils, Little League football that we all grew up playing, in Pinellas County and St. Petersburg specifically. And then you had Clearwater Tornadoes, because a lot of our Little League teams centered around our high schools.
That's
and like you mentioned, a lot of the OGs that we grew up looking up to would always come back to Lakewood and talk to us about what we needed to do. You could always find in the summertime, holiday, Christmas break, the Lakewood connection and the St. Pete connection. Guys would come back, get on the field, whether it be football or basketball, and make sure they groomed us to make sure we were ready, because they knew, you talk about the McGarras, George McGarra, Dennis Green, Gator, Dennis Savage,
Ernest Gibbons.
You talk about Richard Barkley,
Ernest Gibbons.
Yeah, William Lamplin that went and started Army. Ernest Gibbons.
West Point. I tell you what. And so you walk around the country with such pride of where you're from. And, not to get into too much of politics and what have you, but we went to an extremely diverse high school.
Yeah.
Everybody got along. And if you didn't get along, you were an outcast because something was wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
And exactly. So, and everybody has their hometown stories, but I really do think ours is special.
It is,
And
but like you open up the door to Notre Dame because you had Tom Carter that followed you to Notre Dame that came out his junior year and started in the NFL. And you also had on that same team with him at Lakewood, you had William Floyd that went and started.
Justin Smith
Justin Smith, yep,
got a
Justin
full
Smith,
ride to Notre Dame.
Warren
Yeah.
Nelson's nephew. Yep, went on and started at Notre Dame. Exactly, that door at Notre Dame came open up wide after you had gone there, and then like I said, you had William Floyd that started at Florida State, and I think William was one of the few players that won a national championship at Florida State, and then his rookie year won a Super Bowl with the 49ers.
Man, I tell you, envy is wrong, right, Jeff? It's wrong. But I'll never forget Floyd said, "Yo, PT."
Yeah, yeah.
And he had all his rings on.
Yeah.
He said, "You want to want to take a look at these?"
Yeah, all right.
So proud of him, and
Yeah.
it's always fun playing against guys that you played,
Right.
that are from your hometown.
Exactly.
And another really cool story is, well, no, go ahead.
Well, no, we'll get to it. Question I want to throw out there to you is, what were some of the things that you did from an exposure standpoint to help you in your recruiting, from the things that you learned from Grady and Marcus Allen? We didn't talk, Marcus Allen was a great running back.
Oh, yes.
But he and your brother took that opportunity to go walk on at Florida when they should have had a scholarship if the coach would have been doing what they needed to do, because they had academics. We didn't have an issue with academics
That's so true.
with our players. We didn't have that, and test score issues. We didn't have those things. So tell me, from an exposure standpoint, from those things that you learned from your brother, right, from Grady, from an exposure, what did you do to help you with your recruiting to get you, to get that exposure? Because it was hard for us,
Now, all you viewers that are parents and high school students, keep listening to what Coach Smith has to say, because what I'm going to say is it's a little old. Jeff, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
Our highlight films were on a VHS tape. We couldn't just download them or
Right.
Send them out. But it's all, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just a different format.
Right.
And one of the things that Grady, my brother, did was, as going through the, going across that minefield first as an older brother, he just turned around and really told me, "Don't go that way, go this way." But one of the first things he said to me was, he said, "Pat, don't give a head coach, or don't depend completely on a head coach for your future."
Yeah.
Now, and then second thing is, don't let some attitude problem that you have empower a head coach to direct your future, because you got to understand, football is a passionate game. It's a team sport, but I want to play. You want to blame. We run too much. We throw too much. I don't like this defense. One of the first things you have to do as a high school athlete is you have to buy into the system. And if you don't buy into the system, you have to have good communication, but you can't be adverse to everything that hurts the team. And I say that because don't give a coach a reason not to say something positive about you. Because if you got the talent, they will ask.
Yeah.
And remember, they're not going to ask you if you could play ball. They're going to ask your coach if you could play ball. And they're not only going to say, "Can you play ball?" They're going to say, "Is this the kind of guy? Is this a good teammate? Is he a good teammate?"
Right.
Now, to answer your question, I'm getting a little distracted. So what Grady did was, that was the second thing he told me. He said, make sure you don't give any coach a reason not to say something positive about you to people that inquire. Now, for me, he said, don't rely that someone is just going to be sitting in the stands and sees some talent on the field.
Right.
You've got to market yourself.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to market. Nobody loves you more than your parents, and your parents, think you should be the MVP starting quarterback right now in high school. But you've got to market yourself. And so one of the things he did was, he said, "Get your name out there." And and I remember my mom and dad, they went out and put some pennies together, and they bought us I think it was an Atari 800 computer or something.
Yeah.
I remember it was expensive because they kept telling me how expensive.
It was a Commodore 64 or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a video game,
right?
But it was that computer. And And so with that, we just start writing form letters, and Grady helped me with the letters, and just, you know, not to, once again, not to talk about how good I am, but just to talk about how interested I am in that university, and to get that name out, you know, so they were familiar with it, and then let my play and let that VHS tape
Right.
do its own talking.
Right.
But that's one of the things he did that was
Right.
very impactful.
But like you said, recruiting is recruiting. I mean, I know we got all the technology. I think it helps because, like you said, because I remember you had shared with me about that big, huge, you know, the Excel spreadsheet that we see on computers now.
Yeah.
That was a huge book in the office
That's
that had
right.
every college address and 1-800 number. And I remember you taught me the little trick about, hey man, go get them 1-800 numbers, call them and tell them to transfer you to the athletic department, and then, or to the football team. Then you can get a coach, you know, name and all this stuff, and how to, and get the address, you know, just like you said, to send the letters. Those are all the things that we, you know, like you said, that at players' fingertips today, you know, because they have the computer. But still, like you said, marketing and exposing yourself. And this is for whether you're a male or female athlete, it doesn't matter what
Absolutely.
sport you're playing.
Absolutely.
It, like you said, it's all marketing. But that's one thing I think that you understood and really grasped, that I picked up from you about how to market and promote and help yourself get exposure. Because I remember how we used to get those patch cords with the VCRs, like you said, and the VHS tapes, and showing me the tricks of the trade about how to make a highlight tape, how to make a video, you know, tape, because we had to mail these things to the to the school. So, you know, like you said, I appreciate you sharing that about, you know, that's how you got to market yourself. But I know one of the things you did was, I know, how many camps did you attend? You know,
That's
talk about
another
that.
that's another thing is when Grady and Marcus Allen were up at University of Florida, you know, and they got up there early and they saw those football camps. You know, our head coach really never exposed us or let us know about these camps. I didn't know they really existed.
Yeah.
You know, I thought a camp was still on a canoe and making a campfire, right?
Yeah.
So and Jeff, we played football
Yeah.
outside of school, right?
Yeah.
We were up at the field. We were, you know, we were wherever we could find some grass,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Empty sand lot. We were out there doing our own camps.
Absolutely.
But you were watching me talking trash. I was watching D.R.I.V.E.N talking trash. Thomas wanted to come play with us, but he wasn't a baller, and I'll say that live. But the point I'm trying to make is we didn't have anybody that had some power to look at us and say, man, look at Jeff Smith running these routes.
Yeah.
Look at that, you know, look at that fluid body control that he has.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all knew it. I knew it. Everybody knew Jeff Smith was the truth.
Yeah.
But no recruiters knew it.
Right.
No coaches knew it. So one of the things they exposed us to quickly is, Pat, you got to get out to some football camps for major college football universities, and we did. And I remember I went to the University of Florida camp with Earl Presley,
Right.
And I didn't realize, Jeff, that all this was out there, right?
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, I knew my skill set, but you know you're good.
Right.
And we were always trash talkers, and we always wanted to compete. But deep down inside, it's like, man, I know I'm tight on the Spartans, and I know my schedule. We could, you know, beat down some gives, and we can take care of Dixie Hollins. But you know, what's it like with these other schools? Because these are the guys we were reading about. We weren't reading about Lakewood in national magazines. We were reading about Cal Poly and these big schools in Georgia. So, man, I showed up and I'm like, man, these guys are from all over the country.
Or Escambia, where Emmett Smith went.
Yeah, Pensacola, Escambia, and all these. It was kind of like, you know, we're tight, but I don't see none of us in the magazines, right?
Yeah.
And so that was very big that he said, come out here and go to these camps. And then when, you know, you're at these camps, these coaches know who's at the camp.
Yeah.
Now they know the guys that just want to learn how to get in the 3-point stance. They ain't gonna pay them attention.
Yeah.
And then they have a group of potential recruits, right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, you're able to size up against the best in the state.
Right.
And at that time, the best in the country was our state.
Yeah.
And so now, man, you build confidence and you learn where where you're lacking, and you learn
Right.
where you're confident, right? I was fast, Jeff, in a straight line.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you tell me to break, and I'm all over the place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then I realized, oh, this is how they do it. And then,
Mhm.
so camps are good to learn, but they're also fantastic to get exposure and let these coaches be exposed to your talent.
I think that's a great point, and that's something that I talk about all the time is why you should start probably in about middle school because I did that with little Jeff, and because my youngest was Zachary was more of a baseball kid than football,
Hmm. Hmm.
so that's the other thing too. I didn't try to push him, to play football. I pushed him to do more baseball because that's what he excelled more in baseball, even though he did play a little bit of football. But with little Jeff, he took to football, and I started him at camp at Florida when Urban Meyer was there,
Sure.
and took him there in I think 7th or 8th grade, and because he was a really good quarterback, Coach Davis Duke from the old Lakewood days, the head coach at CCC, but he started at Lakewood. Um, he told me get Jeff a quarterback, get him a. He used to do it, but he was getting up in age and like I don't do it much anymore. But he had me go with John Kaleo, who
Mm.
played Montgomery Community College and started at University of Maryland his junior and senior year as a quarterback. And I got Jeff a trainer. I got him. He had Jeff from 7th, 8th grade to his first year in college as a quarterback. And blessings to go to Boston College and sign as a quarterback. He was recruited by Ryan Day. I wish he would got the chance. He didn't get to play for Ryan Day, but because Dave went to the NFL right
Right.
when Jeff was coming in, but he was recruited by Ryan Day to play quarterback at BC. And so, but I think that's important, like you said, the camps teach you where you're lacking, where you're strong at, so where you need to do work and also market yourself and get you some exposure,
Yeah.
and also see that other talent that you got to go up against, and so this
Right.
takes me to the next question is what's your thoughts with this name, image, and likeness along with the transfer portal? What advice would you share with a young athlete today? Because I know Cam Newton, I saw him share because I think the transfer portal today took a lot of control and gave some of us as athletes a little more control because Cam Newton has shared on his show when he transferred, he had to go to JUCO route because Urban Meyer wouldn't release him to go to another SEC school. So the coaches had more control that I didn't agree with. So what's your thoughts with the name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal, giving some of the athletes some more of that control?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, it's quickly becoming a major business.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a tremendous amount of money, a tremendous amount of revenue to be made, and so it's going to add an additional layer of I don't want to call it drama,
Legislation
just an additional layer at that young age going into college that you
well, it is.
have to think about.
Yeah.
So as far as the name, image, and likeness, I think it's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
people can say, "Oh, what in the world?" I went to a school that is not even in a conference. We were independent, and
Right.
the money after we won that national championship that came trickling into that university with NBC contracts. I remember
Yeah.
playing against Michigan. You play against Michigan. It's on national television, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's millions of people watching. Stands are full. The stadium parking lots as far as I can see. After the game, you shower up, and you remember this.
Yeah.
They'd hand you that little box lunch.
Yeah.
The little
Mhm.
box with a
Yeah.
ham sandwich, an
Mhm.
apple, and some chips.
Yeah. And a Gatorade.
And a Gatorade, and you walking back to your dorm, like, dang, I just helped make this school
And you
$20 million today,
yeah.
right? I
Mm,
mean, and you eat the way the other half of the sandwiches is all soggy. I mean, right? And then
yeah.
and then it's like, y'all want to go to eat? I ain't got the money, man. And then you got to be scared because the pizza place up the street, he'll give you
Yeah.
some free pizza,
Right.
but if he gets caught, he's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
So this is a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time coming.
Absolutely.
To answer your question and my true feelings, I think that parents, and these young kids are going to have to get involved in with their accountants and stuff that they don't have never even had to
Right.
think about a lot more than we had to. but all that'll be worked out.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll be worked out. So anybody says, "Oh, that's not right," or "These guys gonna go broke," you can't go broke if you never had money. You know, give them the money. We'll figure that out. Or they gonna go broke. Well, let them have something. Let them have something to go broke on, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's my thing. Is like I think it's a great thing. You know, because now granted, they didn't call it name, image, and likeness. We know that sometimes there was some money, you know, given and all that stuff. You know,
oh yeah.
You know, like Uncle Nick Saban decided he was going to retire because because of name, image, and likeness.
Sure.
Alabama's not going to have that leg up anymore.
They don't have that leg up. They don't have that paper bag anymore.
Right.
But check this out. So Jeff, I mean, all that's a whole different conversation about, you know, how they should do it and what they should do. What concerns me.
Okay.
The thing that concerns me about these young athletes is when I look back on my college career or anybody that, you know, our age back, you know, including our parents and everything else, you know, one of the things that made us men, one of the things that helped me through life and challenging circumstances is adversity.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old saying, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right.
You know, I had a coach that was 5'8", 110 pounds, but I was scared of that little dude, man. What the hell is going on? Let me tell you. And he was just, I'm talking about Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lou Holtz taught me a lot about life.
Okay.
And when I say that, holy smokes, man, my assistant coaches, you know, the attention to detail,
right?
You know, getting in your behind because, you know, you would have made that play if you lined up like you were trying, you know, at the beginning. It doesn't start just at the end of the play. It starts at the beginning of the play. Right. So the point I'm trying to make, Jeff, in this game, you can't play football or any competitive sport, men, women,
right,
with a soft instruction. You know, it's So what I get nervous about, Jeff, is kids entering the transfer portal because coach yelled at them.
Hard coaching.
Right?
Yeah.
A kid entering the transfer portal because he's a freshman and he's not starting.
Yeah.
You know, and being, you know, a backup going into training camp is an opportunity. That's an opportunity to compete.
Right.
That's an opportunity to show the coaching staff, to show whoever's putting that depth chart up, I need to be on that depth chart.
Right. Yeah.
If I didn't make it, you know, there's some circumstances, maybe at a quarterback, you know, and you know, you're doing the numbers. It's a smart business decision to leave.
Yeah. Right.
But if you're a freshman, you know, defensive back, and you didn't crack the starting lineup as a freshman, well, you need to stay in there, learn from the upperclassmen, and go out there and compete.
Yeah.
And compete. And so I get concerned about quitting.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling entering the transfer portal quitting. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, back to the beginning of my long answer, is adversity, you know, fire makes steel stronger, right? Adversity is something, you know, that I believe that the Lord puts you through to prepare for what's coming.
Bigger. Yeah.
And so, you know, if you run, you know, I remember when Lou Holtz told me, he said, I was a wide receiver, Jeff. You probably heard the story. You know, we were practicing at the Cotton Bowl, and Tony, you know, we had 3,000 fans in practice watching it. And my parents had drove all the way up from St. Pete to Dallas to watch me in the Cotton Bowl. And so they went to practice, and Tony Rice dropped back. He threw me a beautiful pass. It hit me in the chest, and I dropped it, right?
Oh, man. Okay.
He was so mad. He ran. I thought he was going to run. Coach was going to run at me because he was standing behind the secondary. He ran past me, through the linebackers, through the defensive line, and grabbed Tony's by his face mask. He said, Sean, what the hell are you doing? I don't care if Pat Terrell is so open that you could walk up and hand him the football. Take the sack. He said, do not throw the football to Pat Terrell. Take the sack. You got Tim Brown over there, and you throw it to Pat Terrell who can't catch.
Oh, wow.
That's your fault. Jeff, I was done.
Yeah.
I was still in touch with Jimmy Johnson now.
Yeah.
And so I remember walking off the field and I was like, dang, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm out. He just told the coach, I'm the starting receiver opposite of Tim Brown in a wishbone offense.
Yeah.
In a 3-point stance. Because he had our wide receivers.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Stance. But that's a whole nother story. Well,
Yeah.
Miami did that too.
Yeah,
but anyway,
Miami did it too. Yeah.
I always scratch my head. How you get off a bump and run?
I don't. Yeah.
I
don't
get it. Anyway, I remember I told my dad, I said, I'm out. I'm transferring to Miami. You know, I'm gone.
Yeah.
He was like, no, you ain't going nowhere. And I didn't understand. I was like, you heard the man, and you know what's
Yeah.
I ain't getting no passes, no catches. I don't like this offense. He said, no, you started something, you're gonna finish it. I'm not saying that it's wrong not to be able to enter.
Right.
What I'm saying is stuff like that, the pressure that he put on me as a wide receiver helped me as a defensive back, helped me understand the game even more mentally, physically. And so, Jeff, that's the thing I get concerned about entering the NIL.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. And
I'm sorry, entering the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Get your NIL.
Yeah. 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 Get your NIL. Yeah.
Portal.
And I just want to let folks know this is Coach Smith with Love the Game 24/7. I got former Hollywood High Lakewood star Pat Terrell, Notre Dame star, NFL star, and he's live with us this morning. I appreciate him taking the time. And as we're just talking about recruiting and things of that nature, and also we'll get on some things where he's at today, and how he looked and used his opportunity to have him where he's at today as CEO of Terrell Materials. And so it's just as Pat said, you know, that's my same concern too, Pat, is how, because, you know, some people will have a reason to go in the transfer portal, and it's a legitimate reason. And sometimes it's not a legitimate reason, like you just pointed out. So be sure it's a balance. Be sure you understand, because when you go in that portal, you might not get a scholarship somewhere else, and you just lost your scholarship.
Wow.
You know, and it's going to be a hard road possibly to get back, but that's going to be some adversity that you got to decide on whether you want to take, you know, go head on at that, you know. Other thing is, I want to ask is, how important was it to have your older brother, you know, to help you understand recruiting, as well as, like you mentioned too, your parents, you know, and dealing with your high school coach situation, you know, with football and even baseball, you know, talk about the importance of having that involvement. You know, you mentioned a little bit earlier about Grady telling you some things, but also, you know, even your dad just now told you, no, you're not going anywhere. How important was that, man, to have that guidance?
You know, parents are a blessing. And, you know, I keep giving Grady all the kudos because he was close to me in my age.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to take away anything that my mom and pops did in raising all of us.
Absolutely.
And so, and especially mom, you know, I played baseball.
Right.
And any parent that got a kid that plays baseball, that parent loves that kid. Because that's a lot of boring travel and sitting in them stands, looking at your watch, can't wait for the game to be over. And my mom was out there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have still a mother who is, well, they both set high bars for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and they don't accept mediocrity. You're not allowed to say I can't. And, you know, my dad, before he passed, you know, a living example. You know, I look at what our parents went through. Mm-hmm. Anytime I'm feeling like I'm having a bad day, I just reflect, you know, I'm like, wow. And so, and then, you know, all through life, then you become a parent, you're like, man, how would pops have handled this? You know what I'm saying? And that's why I look at you right now, Jeff, because, you know, you got a kid in the NFL, you got beautiful children that are successful. And I'm like, man, Jeff is like my pops, man. You know, it's like, you know, this is what it must have looked like, you know?
Man.
And that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it
is. You know, so, you know, the question was, man, young kids, and I'm not trying to change the history in my book.
Right.
But one of the things I listen to my pops, man. I listen to him.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't wasn't all perfect. I made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, but I listened to them,
Mm-hmm.
and man, and when you do that,
Yeah.
they're not trying to tell you something to mess you up. And you can't look at them like, oh, you don't understand. You even have no cell phone when you were
Yeah.
my age. You don't understand. You know, it's different now.
Yeah.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. So, you know, my biggest advice I could give these kids is to listen to people that are trying. Listen to Coach Smith
Mm.
after
Yeah.
you listen to your parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Coach Smith is tweaking what you can do to amplify your talents or your skill set.
Right.
Your
Right.
parents are giving you a foundation to be a good man, a good woman,
Mm.
and helping you set goals higher than what they've achieved.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my success, you know, was really just a blessing. You know, I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
missed one game. Oh my God, I missed 2 games in 20 years of football.
Wow. Yeah.
One in college and one in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, you know, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
That was my mom's little prayer towel she had in that Bible praying
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, so you have to humble yourself, you know, in any sport that you're one injury away.
Right.
You have to humble yourself that everybody out there is working as hard as you. That's why you always have to achieve to work a little bit harder.
Right.
You humble yourself there, but the humility comes in your ears. You know, you got
Yeah.
2 ears and one mouth.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't have to do everything, but people that love you and care about you are going to try to steer you away from the wrong turns. And so,
Right.
Jeff, you know, you know, quick story. Grady, here's a story. I remember, you know me, I love aviation. And we'll
Yeah.
probably get into it later.
Yeah.
I remember I'm running around with my homeboys, Thomas and everybody else. We're going all day. I mean, all day. We're not
Yeah.
doing nothing constructive, just
Into
pinball over
stuff. Into
here and
stuff.
chasing some
Into
girls
stuff.
over there, just all day. And I remember Grady on a Saturday, he'd be home just practicing trigonometry. I thought he was you think I'm a nerd? I thought he was like, dang,
Yeah.
man. You just laying on the floor doing homework and you ain't got no homework. What?
Yeah. What you do?
So I remember one day Grady said to me, he said, Pat, and we're only a year apart, we're 13 months apart, but he
Right.
would treat me like he was 10 years older than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, Pat. And I'm like, yeah. What you doing? I'm going out. No. What you doing with your life?
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
Right? And I said, what? I wasn't even thinking. And I remember I was like in the 8th or 9th grade.
Uh-huh.
He said, what do you want to do when you grow up? You got any goals?
Yeah.
And I said, Jeff, yeah. I said, I'm going to be a fighter pilot. He started laughing.
Oh.
He started laughing. A fighter pilot? He said, you ain't going to be no fighter pilot. I said, what? And I got mad.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to be a fighter pilot. I'm going to fly jet planes.
Yeah.
He said, the only thing you're going to do to a jet plane is fill it up with gas. I said, why do you say that? He said, the military ain't going to let you fly no $30 million jet with grades like you got.
Whoa. Uh-huh.
I wanted to punch him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I never thought about it. I said, well, I can fly. They ain't going to let you. You got to go to college to be a fighter pilot. And you ain't going to college. And Jeff, like I said, I wanted to fight him, but he was just hitting me so deep.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember I was like in the 9th grade or 8th grade, and my grades were like straight C's, Jeff. My dad used to be on me.
Oh, yeah,
I
man.
I couldn't get no B for my life.
Yeah.
I knew I was smart, but
just being lazy, just
whatever.
Yeah.
And when he said that, Jeff, I don't think I made another C.
Okay.
Because I said, well, what? And I remember the first thing I did is I went to the library and the guidance counselors thing, and they have like magazines and requirements for certain careers.
Yeah.
And I started reading that, kind of fact checking because we didn't have the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, dang, in order to be an officer, in order to be a fighter pilot, you got to be a second lieutenant or something. In order to be a second lieutenant, you got to have a 4-year college degree. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what do I got to do to get in college? Oh, you got to have this grade point average. You got to take your SATs. You got to do.
Mm-hmm.
My heart started pounding because I was getting nervous. But then I realized I got time.
Yeah.
I got time. And that changed the trajectory of my life, that conversation. Because when you go through life really not understanding what it takes, because only because you dream it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You got to pay a price for it. And so I don't know if that answers your question. Jeff,
no, well, since like you said, since you shared that story, like you said, I'll go right into it. Because one thing that I knew when we started hanging out a little more, and I started kind of like pulling on you for advice about this recruiting and everything. You know, I remember going in your room all the time. You always had these model planes, posters, strings of airplanes hanging from the ceiling, all kind of stuff. I'm like, Pat, you know, and this is probably like, I think I was probably in 10th grade, and I think you were in 11th grade, I think at the time. And you were like, yeah, no, man, I'm gonna be a pilot, you know. And I'm like, what? I'm thinking football, man, football. And I remember you just saying, like, man, I'm gonna use this football to get me where I ultimately want to be. And that's me. I want to fly planes. And I think you had started doing some flight lessons at Albert Whitted, I think, right? Around 14, 15 or something. You started doing something.
I was always hanging out at that airport, yep.
Yeah. And so it kind of made me start thinking like, okay, this ain't just about football, it's sports, you know, because, you know, like you said, having that experience, and like our parents, my dad used to be on me about the same thing. Like you said, my Todd used to be on me about grades, like, you know, because, you know, I lost my father in 9th grade to cancer. You know, he worked, you know, with GE around, they made nuclear warheads. So he was exposed to, you know, chemicals and different things that really is what caused him to have cancer and die, you know, at a young age. Um, but I remember, you know, he would be on us the same thing, you know, about our academics and about like, no, you need to use sports, you know, to get you where you ultimately want to be, because you can't play football all your life. You know, you can't do this stuff all your life, you know. And so one thing I definitely appreciate about you, and because you really walked it, you didn't just run your mouth, you walked it out and did it. And I remember we would have conversations like, no, Jeff, man, man, I realized, man, I'm getting this attention. You know, I'm marketing and expose myself to football. I'm getting, but I want to use this opportunity, you know, man, to fly some plane. I want to fly. And I'm like, man, this cat really is going, you know, and then to see it happen, you know, talk about that, you know, like your story about how you use.
Well, yeah,
football experience.
my grandfather, he got me interested in aviation. My grandfather was super smart. He was an electrician, and he was in the Navy, and he always wanted to be a Tuskegee Airman. And so he would take me to the conventions all the time. So I would meet, you know, these black fighter pilots of World War II at those conventions. And he kind of got me involved in model airplanes. But long story short, I just love planes, you know, ever since I was a kid. And so, you know, like that conversation I had with Grady, you know, I always had a goal. This is what I want to do. And Jeff, you know, when we grew up, we had some football studs to look up to. I remember my dad would take me. He didn't want to pay the ticket to get in the game. So we would go to Lakewood and sit on the top of his car and watch like Gator and all them other guys play, you know, just for a quarter. He didn't want to, you know, sit at a whole full high school game. But I just remember those nights. So, you know, being a football star just seemed so out of reach for me. I was a football star in my front yard.
Yeah.
And I had goals. Don't get me wrong, Jeff. But you know, I wanted to you know, pursue my passion.
Right.
Football came easy and I loved it, but my passion was aviation.
Right.
And so I remember another quick story. I'm on one of my recruiting visits to Notre Dame. And so Lou Holtz, he tried to get me to commit on my trip. And I had it all planned. I said, look, I ain't gonna, you know, I told my parents, I'm not gonna commit until I come home. We all talk about, you know, what's the right decision. So after my visit, you know, he called me in the office and he said, you know, Sean, I want to get a commitment out of you. You know, can I get you to sign right now? I said, well, coach, you know, I was ready for that question. I'm like, coach, I had a great time. Thank you so much for bringing me out.
Yeah.
I said, I want to go back and talk to my family. And, well, what, why don't you sign right now? And I said, well, coach, like I said, I was like a robot, read the same thing. And so he said, okay, well, just tell me this. Who am I competing against? Tell me your top 3 schools. I said, well, coach, I said, it's 4 schools. I think. I said, I love Florida. My brother went there. Cool school. I said, Miami. I said, here, of course, and Purdue. He said, Purdue. I mean, I hope nobody from Purdue is watching this. Purdue's a great university. He said, Purdue. He said, what the hell am I competing against Purdue for? Notre Dame, Purdue, what? I said, well, coach, Purdue, I want to study aerospace engineering, and all the astronauts went to Purdue. Neil Armstrong went to Purdue, and they got a great aviation department. Right. And he was like, Sean, we've got a South Bend regional airport right down the street. You can fly. He be lying and recruiting, right? So every time I see Lou right now, I say, coach, you lied to me. I said, I didn't see the airport unless it was an away game. Right. And he laughs right back. He said, I had to say anything to get you, PT.
Yeah, exactly.
But so my aviation thing has been with me forever. And
that's good.
And so I set goals, to play as long as I could in the NFL, but you just don't know, know. And one of the things I just knew, I said, I want to use, football to pay for college, I want to use football when I got to the NFL. I got to focus on football. You can't be focused about your second career while you're playing. And that's what I was telling you about your son a little bit.
Right.
So many people are going to say, what are you going to do when you're done? Well, right now, I'm a professional athlete. And I will take advantage of my off season, some free time, first to work out and make sure my body's on point.
Right.
And then instead of playing golf, hey, maybe I'll go pursue, another degree, or work on something for after football, but don't lose focus of what is paying you this kind of money.
Right.
Right. And I think people get confused and like, oh, what you doing? Oh, every offseason I'm working on my business and this and that. Well, you know what? You're taking your eye off what's paying you bills right now.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's a balance.
Yeah.
But I was always not that I'm not a positive person, but I said, hey, if I play 3 or 4 years, I know what I want to do.
Right.
And so every offseason I would get more ratings. I get my instrument and my multi-engine. Yeah. Finally afford it, right?
You're right.
And then my commercial grade, and then my ATP, all these different certifications you would need.
Right.
And I would do that in the off seasons. Well, 10 years later, I played a lot longer than I thought. I had a lot more hours, all my ratings. And what that did, Jeff, is you went through it. Grady went through it. Every person who ever played this awesome game of football goes through it. Everybody will, is to hang up the cleats.
Yep.
And the more longer you get in the NFL, what you see is the people that you graduated from college with. You play Miami, and then you see one of your buddies from college that wants tickets, and you get him tickets, and he's so looking up to you. And man, PT, it's all good. Well, what's he doing? What's he doing every year that you're playing in the NFL? What's he doing? He's out there working for IBM.
Right.
And now he goes from associate to this and this to that.
VP and all that.
Yeah. And so 10 years later, he's a divisional whatever.
Yeah.
And you're retiring. You're both 31, 32 years old when I retired. So I wanted to make sure I was doing something to try to keep up with the norm. Right. The real world, I used to call it.
Yeah.
And for me, that happened to be aviation. So when I was done, it kind of allowed me, when I said we all go through it, it's a depression. And I don't care at what level you stop.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like, man, I'm good. I was good. This is what I do. You feel this is what I was put on this earth for, right?
Yeah.
But you were put on this earth for a lot more than that. Right. And so, that's why I say, make sure that you have something that can fill that void immediately. And for me, I was blessed that as soon as I retired, I went directly. I flew corporate for a year just to build up more jet time.
Right.
And, PT was a little bit arrogant at that point. I had some
Yeah.
money, and I'm flying a Gulfstream with these big. This is in the .com era, Jeff.
Yeah.
So you got a 27-year-old cat that's worth, 500 million in the back seat of your Gulfstream that you're flying. Wow. And he's on his phone, like pointing in his luggage that I'm supposed to pick it up, right? So God says, humble yourself.
Yeah.
And I take a deep breath. Like this brother, I could be back there with him too, but I'm trying to get my ratings. And so that's why I couldn't do the corporate thing for a long time.
Right.
But I had to build my time, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then I got on with Delta.
Okay.
And then Delta had a slowdown, and then immediately had an opportunity with an airline called ATA.
Okay.
And ATA was awesome for me because they only hire captains.
Okay.
And I was captain rated 757 pilot.
Yeah.
757, big plane. And that's what I always kind of wanted to do. If it wasn't fighter jets, I wanted to fly something big. And so I flew that thing all over the world. We flew 3,000-4,000 troops in and out of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And so I felt like, I'm not comparing myself to what our soldiers do, because they're really in harm's way, but it felt good to do a little part for your country,
absolutely.
Transport the troops out there. And Jeff, what that did for me was, man, my first 2 years out of the NFL, I didn't miss it, man.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a game because I was too busy. I'm flying these planes I always wanted to fly. And it just kind of distracted. Now, Jeff, when my body started healing up a little bit, and them little pilot checks when you start off this big, I started missing the league a little bit. But you went through it. Everybody goes through it, right?
Absolutely.
But at least I had something else in my life that I was passionate about.
Right.
And so I flew professionally as an airline pilot for 5-6 years, and then obviously the babies start coming because I'm daddy.
Yeah, you got a tribe over there.
7 kids. Jeffrey,
you got a tribe.
You got 7, and so I'm in Spain calling my wife Beth, like, hey, guess what I'm doing today? I'm going to go tour this church, and then I'm going to walk down and have a coffee by the beach. And I can hear the babies crying in the back.
Yeah, what?
That guilt kind of started setting in. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work for
me.
So, but I did it, Jeff. I was an airline pilot, which was my goal as a kid. Right?
Yeah, and you did.
And I did that at the highest level for 5-6 years, and then I still work with airports, so I'm still around planes and stuff a lot now. But I feel very fortunate and blessed I was able to do that. And,
so and you got into what you're doing now with Terra Materials.
Sure.
You met a very important man back some years ago that was helping minority business owners. Talk about that real quick.
Wow. Well, my dad has always been the ultimate entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see, we had money one week and we were broke the next, it was a roller coaster.
Right.
And it still is here. So, I mean, but I just admire what he did, how he built his company.
Right. Yep.
And so, I just kind of put together different skill sets and we got some extra education, I took advantage. Make sure your son takes advantage of these programs. I went to the Harvard entrepreneurial program. I think they got a Wharton School of Business. I think they have a program at Stanford. If he doesn't do those programs, he's missing out on a great opportunity that I will say I helped create. With the NFL. I was a player rep, and I remember I was a real advocate. I was blessed enough to get my degree in 4 years from Notre Dame. But one of the things I thought that was so unfair that the NFL was doing, and more so college football was doing, was, man, I told you my box lunch story. We helped make all this money for the university. And sometimes it takes guys longer than 4 years to graduate. It's not because you weren't working hard. It's just a timing thing. Playing football is a full-time job. How many students do college students have full-time jobs while they're in college? So what I thought would be fair was if the universities, these kids have given parts of their, health for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Well, if they still have reasonable amount of hours to graduate, they should still be on a scholarship. So they should be able to come back and finish the degrees at the school's expense.
Exactly.
And we worked really hard at that with the NFLPA and the NCAA, and we helped get that passed. So I don't know where the program is now. I've been out for a long time, Jeff. But
yeah,
if you showed progress toward your degree and you graduated from, or you went to LSU, but you still got, 15 hours left, you can go back and get your degree.
Yeah.
So that was big. So after I did that, then you got to start looking out for number one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, absolutely. I got my degree, but the story I told you, your friends, they're getting that work experience. We get out, we're back down to where they were when they were 21, 22 in the business.
Right.
So then we said, okay, we did it for the guys that didn't have their degrees. Well, what can we do for guys that have their degrees? How do we try to substitute, the lack of work experience, right? On our resumes. So we at least got to get some kind of what do you call it?
Training or extra?
Not the MBA, but the graduate MBA, the executive MBA.
Executive, right? Okay.
And so we tapped into that part, and then we got the NFL to sponsor, if you had your degrees, these executive MBA programs at Harvard, Wharton, and Stanford. And they accepted. So I did the Harvard one, and that kind of helped me hone up some skills for business. And I was a business marketing major in college, but I started my company, 20 years ago now. And you kind of, as an airline pilot, I knew that things were changing when I was still a pilot. And when I say things, I don't want to bore you. When things were changing, they were going from runways. You've seen an aerial of an airport. There are runways all crisscrossing. Well, they changed them from crisscrossing runways. We were getting trained to land on parallel runways, right?
Okay.
And so, parallel runways, I'm raising my hand. This is why we're doing all this training.
Yeah.
Well, LAX is like the only parallel airport I know of. Yep, Pat, but we're going to be changing, the FAA is going to be changing runways all across the country and the world, international runways to parallel runways.
Right.
Whether it's Orlando, Tampa, they all are going to parallel runways. And so I said, hey, what's the common denominator in a runway? And then all the freeway system throughout the country is, is old and needs to be upgraded, reconstructed, widened. The common denominator is concrete. My uncles on my mom's side all had concrete companies. Now they did the hard part, laying that concrete down. I used to work in the summers with them.
Yeah.
I said, if I would do concrete again, I want to be the man making the concrete, not the one putting it down.
Right, putting it down. Yeah, exactly.
So we started that business 20 years ago, and it's been a blessing. It's ups and downs and a lot of responsibility, but that's what we're doing. And so we build a lot of runways. Orlando International, we're out there now.
Yeah. Okay.
Runway.
Well, talk about how you got some contract. How you got who was a key person that you met that became a president?
Oh, Obama. Yeah, I can't tell too many stories.
All right.
No. I basically, you do whatever you can to get some exposure. And then that's why, when you leave your university, you want to leave your university with a good name, because those contacts and everything else can really help you out throughout life. And not just using people, but you help people when you can too. And so, keep that Rolodex growing. It's not a Rolodex anymore. It's on your phone, but and that's what we need to do, especially as brothers. If you need something or I need something, I need to look and say, man, I'm gonna call Jeff, and I'm gonna depend on you, Jeff. If you need something, you got to be able to depend on me. I may not be able to do it, but I may be able to, introduce you to someone that does.
Exactly.
And so that's what, back to high school recruiting, for these men and women, don't take your opportunity in high school to make a bunch of enemies.
Right.
Leave it with a good reputation, and so because there's there's parents, they root for us, Jeff, when we were in high school. They want to see us do well, and so that's important, to just make the right decisions. You ain't gonna be perfect,
right? Exactly. And before we before we end this, talk a little bit about, like you said, it's a full-time job. Jeff was blessed. I got my degree in 4 years. I talked about that a lot to my kids. My younger son, he got his 2-year degree when he was in high school through St. Pete College program that he did. So he had a 2-year degree when he was a graduating senior from high school. Because he's built, the kid just as good. He's doing construction and stuff like that. He's a computer science major. He just relocated from Seattle, building an airport, doing some airport stuff, and also built a bridge in Seattle.
Oh, that's outstanding. Yes.
Built a water treatment facility that he was working on before he moved from Seattle. And he just landed an opportunity starting this week with a major company out of Minnesota where he just relocated. So he's doing some big things, sort of like, like he learning how to frame and put that concrete, but he wants to get that experience, like what you said, and being on that other end down the road. Jeff was blessed to graduate in 3.5 years with his communications degree from BC,
That's
because
pretty cool.
he wanted to outdo dad and say, no,
Oh
I
yeah.
graduated 3.5. It took you 4 years. I'm like, cool. But the thing was, like you said, I said, look, I want to graduate with my degree because I want to chase my dream of playing football, but I want to have that paper in my hand and also be able to have work experience if it didn't work out and different things of that nature. But like you said, it's a full-time job when you're a college student. Talk about the pressure being a Division I guy. I mean, it's no matter what level of college you play, but definitely Division I, because you're making millions of dollars for a school. You're on TV. You got all this stuff going on. You got to get your studies. You can't have a job on scholarship when you're in college as an athlete, whatever sport you play. So talk about, how did you deal with the pressures, and let these kids know that everybody can't play Division I. If you're good, they'll find you. I went from Division II, following my big brother footsteps. He led the nation as a wide receiver in Division II, played both ways. But like you said, if you're good enough, they'll find you and give you an opportunity. And then it's up to you on what you do with that opportunity. But what about the pressures, man, of playing Division I and pro ball?
Well, I tell you what, Division I college football is a business, and you are an employee.
Mm.
And so yeah, there's pressure. The higher level you get, the more pressure it is. I will tell you, you don't read about a tremendous amount of problems,
Mm.
believe it or not, in college football.
Yeah.
At Division I level. And the reason I say it, you'll read about it, but if it was many problems you thought, it would flood the newspapers every single day, or the internet.
Yeah.
Why, Jeff? And you already know this. These programs are so big and they make so much money.
Mm.
Unless you're a Heisman Trophy candidate,
Yeah.
they ain't gonna stick by you.
Mm.
If you're a Heisman Trophy candidate and you bring it in, and your jerseys
Yeah.
are selling at the bookstore,
Uh,
and they can't keep them on the shelf.
yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't get in trouble.
Yeah.
But they may want to hear you out. Well, let's
Mm.
hear his side of the story first, and blah blah. And if you're not one of them 7 guys sitting on that stage in New York at the end of the season,
Yeah.
they have a back door to every Division I program, and they open it up and they kick you out.
Yeah.
And it ain't a bunch of fanfare. The local media get it, but you're done.
Yeah.
So the pressure is, they don't let you make really a lot of decisions. You know what your son went through.
Yeah.
For 3.5, 4 years, he had an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule, the athletic department knew his academic schedule. They knew what he was doing on Saturday before the game, and they knew what he was doing on Sunday. They take up your time, just like you raise your kids. They didn't have no summers where they didn't do nothing, right? Yeah. Idle something is the devil's workshop, right?
Yeah, idle time is the devil's workshop.
So I'm not saying that's easy like that.
Yeah.
Where I got nervous is when I left the NFL. I was like, nobody was telling me when to eat, how much to eat, where to go, where do I got to be. And then seeing my kids go to college, I kind of got worried. I'm like, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sending them to college and they don't have no syllabus or agenda, And so, and once again, and I say that the pressure, you've been through that pressure in high school, and it gets more and more and more. Yeah. You got to be able to handle that. You got to be able to compete. You can't go home. You can cry to mama, you can cry to daddy, but they ain't gonna come get you.
Yeah.
But as far as the pressures of getting it done, it's not like it was so weird when I got in the NFL. It was like, man, after practice, wow, what do I
What
do
did I
now?
do? Yeah.
And this is during the season. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I guess I'll go stop here, get some dinner and
Mm-hmm.
go home. And, it was new. It was like usually after, in college, like, all
Yeah.
right, after
You on that
practice,
schedule? Yeah.
you got to
You
go
on
to
that
study
schedule?
hall, right? And after study hall, you got to get some sleep because you got to be up in the morning. So, there's pressure. Absolutely. You work hard and you got to be committed. It's a sacrifice. You're not going to have the same experience in college as the non-athlete. I loved my experience in college.
Yeah.
Just like they loved their experience in college of being a, regular quote unquote student. But
Right.
it's what we chose. It's hard.
Yeah.
But hard work, Jeff. We went and did sprints. We went and worked out in the off season.
Mm.
We didn't love it, but
Right.
we love to be tired. We love to work our bodies. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
I never looked at it as like physically hard. It was mentally challenged.
Mentally.
I think the
Yeah.
mental part was probably harder than the physical.
Yeah.
I'd never worked my body that hard, but I knew I was working.
Yeah.
Mentally, it was a challenge, studying at the Boston College level, the Notre Dame level, any university,
Yeah.
to try to, really retain what you're getting paid for, which is education at the time. So you don't want to waste your money, which is education.
Right. Because that level of talent, man, that window, everybody starts equaling out. Because now you got to find your edge. Because now when you're at the Division I or at college level period, you can get away with some things in high school that you can't get away with in college. There's a little bit of things you can get away with in college that you can't get away if you go to the pro level, whether you're male or female and whatever sport you're playing. I'm looking at track and field right now. That's looking forward to watching some of that track and field.
That's gonna be fun. Yeah, Jeff, that's interesting what you say, because I tell you, I've done some research and I've read about some research on longevity in the NFL. And one of the things that popped up that I saw was the guys that have the longer career in the NFL. How do I say this? People with their college degrees in the NFL play longer than people that don't have them. And I was just kind of scratching my head going, why is that? Well, I mean, not everybody needs the college degree and this and that. I mean, you should take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows you when you get to that level, everybody is good.
Mm-hmm. Everybody.
The guy on the bench that's not a starter, he's in his high school Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So everybody is good. What's good? I mean, then there's a few people that pop out. Like when I played, it was, D.R.I.V.E.N. He had some unreal talents. Randy Moss,
Tim Brown,
Tim Brown. But everybody else, I wasn't scared to go play against Tim Brown. I wasn't scared to play against. Now, Randy Moss had me, taking a couple steps back a little bit.
Yeah.
He had me, bending my knees a little bit more, getting a little bit more ready.
Yeah.
But everybody else, let's go.
Yeah.
And people ask me, well, what's the difference between the pros and college? I would say, okay, in high school, just throw the ball. I'll go get it.
Yeah.
I don't have to be open, right? Yeah. In college, if I'm covering someone, I kind of bait them, right? I'm 3 yards off.
Yeah.
Ooh, quarterback's gonna throw. I'm gonna jump in front and get this pick.
Yeah.
And in the pros, I think the biggest difference is the precision of the quarterback play.
Oh, yeah.
I played at a high level in college, so the speed didn't bother me. The talent, the running backs, I'd seen them. I played against them in college.
Yeah.
But the accuracy of the quarterback, where I thought I had somebody covered in college,
man,
that's wide open to these quarterbacks because they're gonna put the ball right on his outside shin, down low, where only he can get it, right? Yeah. And I'm like, man, that was the difference. Okay. What I thought was covered was wide open. Yeah. So, man, I'm talking so much, Jeff. It's another thing is like, and I remember in high school it's like, hey, these guys on the left are all sorry. We're gonna run sweep. We're gonna run Jeff to the left and sweep all game. We're gonna stay away from that outside linebacker over there. Yeah. And that corner over there. College, you may find a little bit weak spot here and there. Pros, it's even. I mean, that's where I was going. So, taking advantage of that education you're getting your degree. but the point I'm trying to make is when you get to a certain level where it's even, what edge can you get?
Right.
It's knowing the knowledge of the game, the playbook, the scouting reports, what
Being
you're
a
doing.
student of the game.
And because your athleticism, when you get to that level, it's not it's not even necessarily an advantage anymore, unless you're a handful of guys.
Yeah.
But as a defense, I remember I played with Ronnie Lott when I was on the Jets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I was deep into my career. I was about my 7th year. Right. I was excited. I'm about to learn from a legend. And I remember we were watching film one time of a game, the breakdown, and Ronnie just stopped the film because he was old school. He would run the thing, and coach would sit there and not say a word. Ronnie would, right. And Ronnie stopped the film. He said, Pat, we playing cover. We're doing something.
Yeah.
And it was one play, it was the same route. He made a big hit. The next play, same route. I made a big hit. So the results were the exact same, right?
Okay.
It was right. We both had good plays. I think it was like a dig route, and it was 3rd and 15.
Right.
They got 14 yards. We were off the field, right? Great play. Ronnie said, Pat, look at me. And he wasn't bragging.
Yeah.
And he put it on him. And Ronnie took like 3 slow back pedal steps, broke, and made the hit. He said, and Pat, watch you. Dude, I went back 8 yards, went over to the numbers and the angle, holding this off, watching for the tight end, doing a whip route. I ran about 25 yards and then flew up and closed, Jeff, and made a big hit.
Yeah.
Same spot Ronnie hit it. He said, the difference between you and me, Pat, right here, you're covering every play they have in their playbook. Yeah. You're trying to defend every play. Mm-hmm. I was trying to take care of the fade. I was trying to be able to be good at angle. He said, what I did, and it was a beautiful teaching experience. And I'm a veteran. Yeah. And he was talking the whole secondary. He goes, look, see the running back? I watch film. Every time that running back stepped to the left, this receiver comes in. The quarterback's read is if he's covered, he's coming here. So why do I need to go where he's never thrown all season? You see the mentality or of the mental part of the game. Yeah. And so for 6 years, I've been defending the whole playbook. Yeah. In my last few years in my career, when I started getting slower, I'm defending the formation. Yeah. Right. And so that's another thing athletes need to realize is learn the mental aspects of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, you got to tell the folks what it was like beating Miami, the Hurricanes, with all that history, and to break up a pass from Leonard Conley from Pinellas County. You broke
a lot of people don't know that
from a player that was a star at Miami that was from our area. Tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll let you go because I know you're busy, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you joining Love the Game 24/7, and then you can maybe share a little bit about the importance of why, doing, helping coaching people through this stuff. But I just want you to mention a little bit about that Miami game, and then maybe share why you think what I'm doing a little bit before we get out of here.
So that Miami game, it was huge for me because I'm up in South Bend, Indiana, playing for Notre Dame. And Jeff, I told you about the story.
And being from Florida.
And I told you the story when we were at the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
When Lou Holtz went off.
Oh, yeah,
He walked up to me and said, Pat, I'm moving you to defensive back in the spring. That's why I wanted to transfer. Yeah. The reason that's important is because that was my sophomore year, Jeff. Yeah. You don't get positions that late in college.
Yeah.
But I was blessed enough to go out there and earn the starting spot. But my first start was against Miami.
Okay.
As a free safety.
Yeah.
And I started as a wide receiver.
Right.
So that was a huge game. They did the 30 for 30. I still don't like the Catholics versus convicts.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I love that t-shirt. That was some jacked up stuff. Once again, because dude, man, it was a good cast down there in Miami.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we probably had more convicts on our team than they did anyway. But it was a huge game, man. I tell you what, still today, in all the NFL games I play, playoffs, that's one that's up there that I feel like it feels like it was yesterday. But a lot of hype. Yeah. And for me personally, my whole family was up there. And and it was exciting. You know, the
Yeah,
only one for my family, that wasn't rooting for me was Grady. Because before the game,
yeah.
before the game, he said, "Yeah, I sold my ticket." I said, "You
Oh, I
didn't?"
know.
Or after the game, he said, "Yeah, I sold my ticket." I said, "You didn't see the game?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it. I sold my ticket for like $500, and I gave the usher 20 and snuck in."
But
And he's like, but before the game, he was like, "Look,
yeah.
I hope you have a good game, but I got to stick with my Canes. I got to stick with my Canes."
We were diehard Canes. Yeah, we were diehard Canes, boy. You know that, man.
That's my brother, man.
Yeah,
And so it was just a great game. I was fortunate enough to get a pick six, early in
yeah.
the
I remember
game.
that. Yep, pick six.
And so, when something like that happens, it gets your confidence high.
Yeah,
But, I remember at certain points of that game, like TV timeouts, I was just looking at the tunnel of the
yeah.
Canes, and we were looking at each other like, damn,
This is it.
this is it right here. Boy, this is a
Yeah,
big game. And so, it was back and forth. And I tell you what, they had an incredible offense. I
yeah,
mean, we were doing the bend, don't break. They were moving the
yeah,
ball
yeah,
on us. We were just trying to punish them and not give them any yak,
yeah,
yards
yeah.
after catch. And so yeah, it came down to it. And Jimmy Johnson was gonna go for two. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
playoffs and stuff back then.
yeah.
And so I don't blame him. You don't go do a
Right.
tie.
Absolutely.
And but I'm gonna say this. All y'all Florida cats be talking about, yeah, Cleveland Gary scored. I'm like, Cleveland's locker was next to mine at the Rams, man.
Oh yeah.
We
What?
fought for 2 years, man. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, maybe he scored, but homeboy didn't make that catch in the end zone, and I still say that other homeboy didn't. Man, whatever.
Hey,
So
that's still debatable.
see, no. So anyway, it came down to that last 2-point conversion, and you mentioned it. I mean, throughout my NFL career, I always played against guys from St. Pete, which is cool.
Yeah.
Um, in college, a little bit different because we played all over the country, and that's more
Right.
regional. But I just remember, we had scouted Leonard Conley, we had scouted a lot of their end zone plays, so we were really in the right position. But lining up against Leonard Conley was
Yeah.
kind of wild, because I'm like, damn, he went to Tarpon Springs, and I
Yeah. Yeah.
remember,
Tarpon
my
Springs.
senior year, we were the big cats on the team, and so
Hmm.
we had gone against each other all the time. So it was ironic that here we are in the biggest game of our college career,
Yeah,
going
man.
back at each other.
Still one of the biggest games in ever.
Yeah, and so lined up and they went to him, and I'm gonna tell you because you're a baller. I was like, dang, I jumped too early, right? I jumped too
Yeah.
early. So knocked it down, and all my boys, they know me
Yeah.
like, PT, why don't you just catch it? I'm
Yeah.
like, I said, I had to just get rid of that ball.
Yeah,
But
man. Yeah.
but it was, when you're in a game that's that big, I didn't
The
think about
magnitude.
personal. It was just, I felt like I was, a part. I had a bunch of tackles that game, had a pick six,
Yeah.
and but when that play was made, it wasn't like I made the play. It just felt like, seriously, it was like, oh, I can't wait to get off the field because
Yeah.
these guys can strike you at any moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a rush, unbelievable feeling. Man, I was on cloud nine. My
I bet.
family was there, pops was there. It was
Yeah.
really cool. And so for me personally, being from Florida, but Jeff, that's not the highlight, man, or not the low light.
Yeah.
So I couldn't wait for winter break. I'm coming back home
Come
to the
on.
crib.
Exactly.
My boy Jeff's gonna give me some frost. Thomas, everybody will be like, PT, you the
Yeah.
man. Dude, y'all didn't even talk to me, man. Y'all like, dang, PT.
No,
I lost
no,
money
man.
on
No,
you,
no.
dog. I went to the
No, we were proud.
barbershop.
No, man, we were proud. We just know we like y'all know this cat come home. He gonna be trying to rub it in because we all diehard Canes back home. Like
Man, I went to the
we gonna make
barbershop,
it
man. They
silly.
were like, man, bro, you lost me $30 in that game. No, you. So
No,
that
man,
was
that was good, man.
fun.
Definitely, man. Being able to being in college playing ball too, and I'm like, especially being in Iowa, it was Iowa and Nebraska, thinking
Yeah,
they
yeah,
could do
yeah.
something, so it was like, and then they be able to have it say, no, man, that was my homeboy I grew up playing ball with, man. Yeah, he beat my Hurricanes, but no, that's my dog right there,
Yeah, yeah.
so no, man,
But
it definitely was a proud moment to be able to say that was somebody that I grew up with that made such a huge impact, man, and
oh,
in
thanks,
one of
man.
the biggest college games ever, man. So, but I appreciate you, man, coming on, taking your time, because I want to be more than just about people hearing from me, but I want to start having more people like yourself come on that I'm coaches that I know, different things like that, teammates come
And
and talk
Jeff,
about their.
if you don't mind, I'd like to get some people that I played with and coaches and introduce them to you because you
Yeah,
guys, what Coach Smith is doing here is worth every penny of money or time because you don't get this kind of information and knowledge. Jeff loves the game. And the only thing he loves more than that are the people that are in high school sports. I don't care if it's women's volleyball, track,
yeah,
football. Yeah. He loves to see and help youth. And I thank you, Jeff, for what you're doing. And you guys reach out to him. You got all his contact information here because even if you just pick up one thing from him, it could be humongous. And he's
appreciate it.
available. And Jeff, thank you for having me on, man. It's always good to see you.
Yeah,
To chat with you,
absolutely, man.
dog.
Hopefully, I can get you on again. We can
Yeah.
talk about some more stuff, especially about our history, man, about St. Pete and that talent that's come out of Lakewood. That's another thing I'm trying to also, do because we got another podcast where I'm on with Todd. You remember John Taylor,
Oh yeah.
JT,
Yeah.
JT coach, the kid, Sean King in high
Yeah.
school at Gibb.
Yeah.
And Sean went on to star with the Buccaneers, and before that at Tulane, being a awesome, dual threat quarterback. So we
Yeah.
do a podcast called On the Wood with the
Oh,
old,
that's beautiful.
old Lakewood guy. Yeah,
Let
so
me
we
know.
have,
I'd love to help you guys out, man. So
yeah. No, I
that's
appreciate it,
good.
man. So yeah, if we can get together, man, and like I said, we can talk and get some other folks that to come on and help give some of this solid information for these recruits, these young ladies, these young men about what it takes to play at that next level and what they need to do just to be prepared, like you said, the adversity. Because everybody gets homesick, when you first go off to school. I don't care if you're a Division I kid, Division III, everybody gets homesick, and you got to deal with that adversity and realize I got a great opportunity to be able to still play this sport and take advantage of all those things like you talked about, man. So I appreciate you guys and everybody who joined us on IG with Coach Smith 27 and Love the Game 24/7, man. So Pat, man, tell the wife, tell Miss Elizabeth, thank you for allowing you to be with us this morning and your family, man. We appreciate it. And like you said, we can't do anything without the wives being a part of that, and all the great experiences that we've been able to enjoy, and even with our kids, man. So I appreciate her and your family, and I know my mom and your mom, they always together doing something back home in St. Pete, usually because I hear about it. I'm sure you hear about it too. So shout out to
Hey,
our
well,
mom.
hey, tell your boy I'm gonna do what people used to do to me all the time. I'm coming to Phoenix and I want 2 tickets.
Oh yeah, okay,
But
okay.
here's the thing though. When I meet him after the game, I ain't gonna be wearing like a Green Bay Packers jersey or whoever y'all playing against.
All right.
I used to get tickets to my boys when we
Yeah.
played the Bucks or whatever, and they would have the Buccaneer jerseys. I'm like, at least at the last minute, put my Carolina Panthers.
Put the team, represent the team. I hear you. No, for sure,
So
man.
I'm gonna have my Arizona Cardinal jersey.
All right, we're gonna make that work. We're gonna make that happen. We're gonna coordinate that this season, man, and definitely like to get you at a game for sure, man, so we can hook up and so you can meet him and everything, and he won't just hear about this Pat Terrell. And I ain't like, no, this is my boy. He is the real deal. So, but no, I appreciate it, brother, man. Have a good rest of the weekend. Have a great and safe 4th of July.
You too.
But keep doing what you're doing, man. Like I said, hopefully, we'll get you on again. Because you're doing some big things, and what you're doing now, life after football, because we have to have a segment talking about life after football for sure.
Outstanding. Jeff, I love you, brother, man. You take
Love
care.
you, man. Appreciate it. Let me stop this recording.